The final cut is a masterpiece. But the first draft is a war zone. This is between the frames. The scene is etched into film history. The rain-lashed tour vehicles, the goat leg thumping on the sunroof, the sudden appearance of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and the terrifying escalation as it breaks free to attack the children. It's a masterclass in suspense, practical effects, and sheer cinematic power. Every shot, every sound, every terrifying moment feels inevitable, like it was always destined to be this perfect sequence. But the original cut, assembled from the first nights of shooting, was a potential disaster. The star of the show, the multi-million-dollar, 12,000-pound full-size animatronic T-Rex, was failing under the very conditions built to make it look real. The sequence looked less like a rampaging prehistoric monster and more like a waterlogged, glitching robot on its last legs. What happened between these frames to transform a malfunctioning machine into the undisputed king of the dinosaurs? The plan, conceived by director Steven Spielberg and effects legend Stan Winston, was breathtakingly ambitious. They would shoot the entire sequence at night on a massive soundstage at Warner Brothers Studios, complete with practical, torrential rain. The centerpiece was the Spit Rex, a life-sized animatronic marvel, 9 feet tall at the hip, 40 feet long, and weighing 6 tons. Operated by a complex system of hydraulics and puppeteers, it was designed to deliver a level of realism that CGI, still in its relative infancy, couldn't yet match. The idea was to capture the immediacy of a real physical creature interacting with the actors and the set. But as the first assembled rushes came back from the lab, a crisis became terrifyingly clear. The flaw in their brilliant execution was water. The constant, heavy rain, pumped from high-pressure fire hoses to look dramatic on camera, was causing the foam latex skin of the T-Rex to absorb water like a giant sponge. The dinosaur, which should have been taut and muscular, looked waterlogged, heavy and deflated. Its carefully sculpted skin began to sag. Worse, the internal mechanics started to shake and shudder violently, an issue the crew dubbed the speed shakes. The robot would twitch uncontrollably, losing all semblance of a living creature. On one infamous evening, which the crew grimly called Blood Night, a high-pressure hydraulic line inside the T-Rex burst. Viscous, red hydraulic fluid sprayed everywhere, coating the meticulously designed set, the expensive camera equipment, and the terrified actors in a sticky, crimson mess. The entire production ground to a halt for a massive, time-consuming cleanup. With the added weight of all the absorbed water, the animatronic's movements became sluggish and far more limited than envisioned. It struggled to perform the aggressive, powerful actions the script demanded. The footage they were capturing was, in many ways, unusable. The film's terrifying centerpiece was visibly struggling, a broken robot on a soaked set with a ticking clock and a ballooning budget. The sequence was in jeopardy, and with it, the entire film. The intervention came from Spielberg and his longtime Oscar-winning editor, Michael Kahn. As they sat in the quiet of the edit bay, staring at the flawed, twitching, waterlogged footage, they didn't see a disaster. They saw an opportunity. They made a series of brilliant, pivotal decisions that didn't just save the scene, they defined it. Their primary fix was to embrace the storm. They realized the lightning flashes, originally just for dramatic effect, could serve a powerful editorial purpose. A bright, disorienting flash of light could perfectly cover a cut. They could jump from a wide shot of the stiff, slightly sagging animatronic to an aggressive, perfectly controlled close-up, or to one of the few groundbreaking CGI shots from Industrial Light and Magic. The storm, which was the source of their problems on set, became their greatest tool in post-production, a way to hide the robot's limitations and stitch together a seamless performance from imperfect pieces. This led to their next masterstroke, the power of suggestion. Instead of holding on long, wide shots that risked exposing the animatronic's mechanical flaws and sluggishness, they cut relentlessly to intense, visceral close-ups. They focused on the roaring head, the dilating pupil of the eye, the massive foot slamming into the mud right next to the camera. They understood that the audience's imagination was their most powerful tool. By showing these terrifying fragments, they let our minds build a creature far more fearsome and agile than the animatronic could ever be on its own. And then there was the accidental icon, the ripple in the cup of water. This single, perfect detail was pure, unplanned serendipity. As the crew prepared for the T-Rex's first appearance, they noticed the water in a cup on the Jeep's dashboard was vibrating, creating concentric ripples. It wasn't a planned special effect. It was the real, massive weight of the 12,000-pound animatronic thudding across the soundstage, its vibrations traveling through the concrete floor and up into the vehicle. It was an unplanned, perfect indicator of massive approaching weight. Spielberg and Kahn saw this magic in the dailies and immediately knew they had gold. They made it a focal point of the sequence, building layers of suspense around this tiny, practical detail before the monster was ever seen. This editorial strategy transformed the scene's weaknesses into its greatest strengths. The darkness and rain that hampered the shoot now became a cloak, masking flaws and ratcheting up the claustrophobic atmosphere. The quick, jarring cuts created a sense of frenetic, unpredictable chaos that a smoothly working robot might never have conveyed. They didn't just document a dinosaur attack, they crafted an experience of pure terror out of the fragments of a malfunction. The miraculous transformation of the T-Rex scene cemented several lasting lessons in filmmaking. It became the ultimate example of movie magic, proving how inspired editing groundbreaking sound design. That iconic roar was a complex blend of baby elephant, tiger and alligator sounds, and clever reactive direction can sell an effect even when the practical object itself is imperfect. The final, terrifying whole became infinitely greater than the sum of its faulty parts. The scene also highlights the unsung heroes of cinema, the editors and the post-production teams. While Stan Winston's crew built a magnificent machine, it was Michael Kahn and the sound designers who ultimately gave that machine its soul, its life, and its terror. Their creative problem-solving is as much a part of the scene's iconic success as the animatronic is engineering. This brings us to the core creative lesson: shoot for the edit and edit for the feel. Spielberg didn't get the perfect footage he planned for, so he and Kahn abandoned the plan and edited for the feeling they wanted to evoke: chaos, shock, and overwhelming power. They used every tool they had, including on-set accidents and technical failures, to build that feeling. It stands as a masterclass in directorial flexibility and editorial ingenuity, a testament to finding genius in the midst of a crisis. So what's the legacy for anyone trying to make something? The principle is simple. The problem is the solution. The Jurassic Park T-Rex scene teaches us that the very elements that threaten to derail a project, bad weather, broken props, unforeseen accidents, can be folded back into the final product to give it texture, authenticity, and a unique, unrepeatable power. For creators everywhere, the lesson is to stay agile, to listen to what your footage is actually giving you, even the mistakes, and to use the tools of post-production, not just to assemble a plan, but to rescue, reinvent, and elevate it. The most iconic moments in art often aren't planned, they're discovered in the chaos. What's your favorite example of a movie scene that turned a production problem into an iconic moment? Let us know in the comments below. And for more stories from behind the camera, subscribe to Between the Frames.